As he pushed himself on, he gazed up at the heavens and screamed angrily, amidst his almost hysterical laughter. "Thank you for the rain! I couldn't have survived without it, but it'll probably kill me now!" In his confused state, there was an element of truth. He had slipped and stumbled onto the rocks, trying for even a drop of moisture, causing the very gash now painful in his leg. His skin agitated and sore, blistering in the dry sun. If only there was somewhere to get out of the baking heat, a tree to provide shade, a shelter. "You going to help me with the tent?" Bray suddenly smiled fondly, recalling Martin's voice, his question that was asked frequently in the times he and his brother had struggled putting up the family tent, often in the pouring rain, on their camping vacations. He could almost imagine Martin in front of him now, in the wilderness, looking for a place to set up camp. Bray ready to help out. He had loved the outdoors when he was younger. The family would go away on vacation, and he would have many adventures, exploring all the great outdoors had to offer, with his brother, Martin. Bray recalled how back in the city he had longed for the natural world, how he had missed it. As a mole rat, his life had been a fight for survival in the urban jungle, and he had always felt an affinity with nature, the purity of our Mother Earth, the purity of his relationship with his brother, once, in a different time. Now he felt as if he was almost in a different world, almost on another planet. How he missed him. He felt the pangs of separation still to this day, a sense of loss, not just at Martin's tragic passing, but what Martin had done to his own life, reinventing himself as the city tyrant Zoot. Could Bray have done more to stop the transformation of Martin into Zoot? The frightening and unpredictable force that had terrified so many? Was it something he had done? Had he contributed to Martin's fall? Heaven knew Bray had done all he could, given everything in his power to bring the real Martin back, to get rid of Zoot. And Martin had been close to coming round, the humanity in him returning, before his sudden death prevented any chance of Bray saving him. He would never forget his younger brother. He would carry his memories of the good times with him for the rest of his days. Even as he was perplexed and saddened by the many bad times and experiences with Martin, the tragedy of Zoot, his love for him remained. Was Bray now being punished for having the same bloodline? Was he now in purgatory? Suddenly, Bray heard a noise behind him, a rustling, and froze in his tracks, his body coursing with tension. Was it Eloise? The Zootists? Some other threat? The devil? Spinning around, Bray spotted some gulls, waddling around on the ground, pecking for bugs with their beaks. He smiled initially as the birds' heads comically bobbed up and down, curious of what they might find, their eyes searching the terrain. The only living creatures around, apart from himself. In a way, they were like him, out here, in the great unknown, fighting to survive, and he felt an affinity with that struggle. But then, as he focused his gaze, he wondered if they could somehow even be vultures, just waiting, biding their time for when he would succumb. In his heart, Bray knew he was dying, and through his disorientated state, wondered who he would be reunited with if there was an afterlife. Martin? Or did Zoot live on in heaven? Time went on. How many days, Bray didn't know. "Don't give up," he muttered to himself, dragging his infected leg. Every time he moved it, the pain was excruciating. His thigh had swollen up. It felt like it would burst. The agony of his isolation was nearly crippling. He was going mad, out here on his own, with only fear and uncertainty as his companions. And he wondered if what was right in front of him was even real, or another hallucination, all in his mind. It had loomed on the horizon at first, and Bray had headed towards it, fascinated by what he saw, or thought he could see. He reached out to touch it. There. It felt real. Poking his fingers through the wire mesh. It was a barbed wire fence. Perhaps a dozen feet tall, with wicked twists of sharp wire knotted all around it. The fence ran the entire length of the land in front of him, as far as the eye could see, and he could see no end of it, no beginning, just the barbed wire bisecting the entire wilderness, an impenetrable barrier. And there, just visible through the mesh on the other side of the fence, in the middle of nowhere, was a military-style truck, half buried in the dusty dirt. With its sand-coloured desert camouflage, the vehicle looked like some ancient artifact, a relic from a bygone age, sticking out of the ground. At the back of the truck, a tattered door flap billowed in the warm wind that blew across the desolate landscape. Perhaps the wreckage would work as a makeshift shelter from the burning sun. Maybe there were supplies inside he could use. Putting his hands on the mesh, gathering his strength, Bray began to slowly climb the wire fence. He gashed his fingers on the barbed wire, crying out in pain, his dry skin bleeding profusely from the fresh cuts being inflicted. His tired, weak body urged him to let go. The agony was unbearable, like he was being tortured. But he kept climbing, reaching the top where the barbs were especially tangled. Yet, as with Eloise before, Bray wouldn't yield. He had come too far. Fighting his natural urges to release his grip, he forced his fingers to keep clinging to the wire, willing his infected leg to hold his body weight, in complete inner torment, as the wire bristles sharply cut into his body again. Blood now dripping to the ground. It was then, at the top of the fence, that Bray spotted the castle further away, and for a moment, struggling through his weakness to hold on to the jagged wire, he felt that it was too late. He had surely lost a grip on his sanity and was seeing things. But there it was. It was real. The castle stood in the distance, the sun setting on the horizon. Bray gazed transfixed, clutching the fence, staring at the castle. Was it heaven? Was this what death was like? Did he have the will to let go, propel himself to the other side? With the sun continuing to set on the horizon, and the light growing dim, Bray was now becoming engulfed in darkness, illuminated slightly by fading beams. Trapped at the top of the wire and weakly balancing precariously, Bray's life force felt as if it was ebbing away, disappearing with the setting sun. He yelled out in bitter frustration, pain, a sustained wail of anguish, realizing he wasn't going to make it. The vulture-like birds he saw earlier swooped, their wings fluttering in a frenzy as they began pecking at the wounds oozing blood, dripping from his leg, dangling over the fence.